Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:15 p.m. and a quorum of members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby.
Here.
Mr. Helmer.
Here.
Mr. Kurth.
Here.
Ms. Schulz.
Here.
Mr. Seidel.
Here.
Ms. Unger.
Here.
Ms. Wondercheck.
I would entertain a motion to recess to closed session.
Madam President, I move to recess into closed session pursuant to Section 19.851C and E of the S and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider A, the approval of closed session minutes of October 12th, B, employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff, C, discuss proposed superintendent evaluation rubric.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kurth. Yes. Mr. Helmer.
Yes.
Ms. Crosby.
Yes.
Ms. Schulz.
Yes.
Mr. Seidel.
Yes.
Ms. Unger.
Yes.
Ms. Wondercheck.
Yes.
We are moving into closed session and will return to open session around 7 o'clock. It is now 7 o'clock, and we are returning from closed session into open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all those who are able, please rise. And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the City Library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal-Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. I'd like to call for a motion to make a slight adjustment to the order of business this evening. We'd like to move the sixth grade student representative update to right after our recognitions, right after our recognitions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to remove the sixth grade student representative update from the administrative team report to after the recognition.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Seidel and a second by Mr. Helmer. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes then. Then we have our recognitions.
I would like to ask our coordinator of communications and public relations, Dave Cody, and Jordan Napoli, the athletic activities director, to please come up with our guest from Drexel, Building Supply.
All right, thanks. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan real quick, but we're just here to recognize Drexel Building Supply for the really exciting naming rights sponsorship that they've partnered with us on. The field house over at West is going to be known as the Drexel Field House, which is great. We're super excited about the partnership. I mean, obviously the financial aspect is great, but there's a lot more to it, and I'm going to let Jordan and Matt talk about that a little bit.
So as Dave said, in my 8 years in the athletic and activities role, I think this is probably one of the more fun things I've gotten the opportunity to work on in relation to just community-wide partnership things that we're doing. Kind of started this summer. I was out on vacation, got a voicemail, got back to the office, and I hear there's this guy on the other end going, "I'm the head coach at Drexel Building Supply." And I'm thinking in my head, I've never heard of a head coach at a building supply store, but okay, I'll give him a call back. So I give Matt a call, and he, right from the get-go, it had nothing to do with anything, monetary related or sponsorships. He wanted to figure out a way to maybe partner with us with our kids. And so what was it, July maybe? Yeah. Matt came in July. We sat down with Melissa Bonson, who is our business marketing DECA advisor. We worked out some opportunities for our DECA kids to get into Drexel, set up ways to maybe sell, market, do some different things in their cafeteria. Those things have kind of progressed a little bit, which has been exciting to see. From there, Matt also said, again, hey, what are other ways we can get involved? And so I was like, well, here's a bunch of ways you can get involved. And we talked a little bit about the sponsorship rights. David and the rest of the district office who put together the really awesome naming rights program. I was able to get it over to Matt. We went back and forth a little bit here and there. And as things kind of progressed, obviously, they were really interested in potentially doing some naming rights in the field house. And as things kind of walked through that process, we had that opportunity to kind of finalize it over the last couple of weeks, which has been really, really exciting. Really excited to see kind of how the partnership's going to grow. Matt's been in West at least 3 or 4 times now, even talking about, hey, how are things going to work in terms of how can we get into some of the classrooms? How can we work with the construction team, all the people that are involved in that end of things? So like David said, as much as the monetary thing is really, really exciting, especially for our programs, I think the thing that struck me most about Drexel from the get-go is the fact that from the very first reach out, it was, hey, how can we get involved with some of your kids? Because it immediately went to the DECA conversations and the things that they had done in the past with other schools around the state. And so from there, I'm hoping things are going to continue to blossom. And either way, we're going to be around with these guys for the next 10 years. So thank you, Matt.
Absolutely. I don't know what really to follow up with, but everything that Jordan just said, really appreciate Jordan, Dave, Patrick, the meetings we've had. And like Jordan said, I was just really excited to get some roots in New Berlin. I figured what a better place to start a foundation with the school district. This just happened to be an added bonus. I had no idea when talking with Jordan that Drexel's name could be on the field house. That was never our intention. Again, I know money is nice for you guys, but just looking to give back to the community and helping out where we can and getting kiddos involved in some sort of capacity. I wasn't sure how to start or where to go, but I leaned on this fellow, and with the help of Dave and Patrick, we're going in the right direction. No idea where we're gonna go, but I'm really excited. This is a great start for us and you guys, hopefully, and just ready to rock and roll and ride the wave and see where we go.
And I will add that we do plan to do a bit of a more formal presentation or a recognition of Drexel once the signage is up in the field house. They're doing some mock-ups right now. We've seen some of it. It looks great. It's going to be pretty awesome. And there's going to be some outdoor signage, indoor signage in the lobby, indoor signage as you're walking out of the field house. So it's going to look great once we have that up, and we'll have a little bit of a celebration. And the board and the Drexel team will be there, and maybe a halftime of a basketball game or something like that. So we're looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get it done this basketball season, and it's a really great thing. And we hope this is the start of a lot of other businesses taking the opportunities or seeing the opportunity that Drexel has. And we got all kinds of places that could get a name on it. So we have, another gym. We have some PACs. So if you're listening, come on out and let's get your name on it. So.
I will say my son's only 2, so it's got nothing to do with playing time whatsoever.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Now we have privilege of the floor. No? Oh, I'm sorry. Already forgetting my own revision here. Then we have the 6th grade student representative update.
Good evening. My name is Matt Stadneski. I'm the principal at Poplar Creek Elementary School, and I'm joined tonight by Mrs. Jennifer Terosian, our associate principal. Hello. And there she is. Like, where'd you go? Where'd you go? And I just want to introduce our 6th grade representative Dominic Jefford, who has been at Poplar Creek since kindergarten, but that's not necessarily why we picked him. Dom has grown a lot since kindergarten, but he's just been cool, calm, and collected really the whole way through. And when last year, this year, 5th and 6th grade recess gets a little maybe unruly or out of control, he's the one who's kind of the voice of reason and can talk through anything that's going on. And so after talking with his mom a little bit at kind of our event at our creek crawl, he was just kind of the perfect kid to pick, because we've seen how much he's grown from kindergarten until now and how he just has this calm approach, this mellow kind of attitude. He's got a lot of good friends. Kids kind of look to him for sometimes the calm when everything else really isn't sometimes at recess or with any social things that are going on. So Dominic was our pick for our 6th grade representative, and as we kind of figured, he ran with it. And so one day, I think it was a Friday, and I just said, hey, this is kind of what it could look like or what you might do. And on Monday, he's like, I'm doing student jobs. I got a bunch of slides already done, and we just need some pictures. When are you ready to do this? So he's got it. Dominic Jeffords, everybody.
This is my presentation on the school jobs that the kids do at Poplar Creek Elementary School. The first job is sign holder. If you are a sign holder, you stand in front of a bus with a sign in your hand that has the number of the bus that you're standing in front of. The purpose of this job is so that people do not need to read the smaller sign that is on the bus, but a bigger sign. And if a kid does not know which direction to go, we tell them. The next one is bus buddy. If you are a bus buddy, you walk the kindergartners to their bus. The bus buddy works with the sign holder. The purpose of this job is to make sure the kindergartners do not get lost. The next one would be parent pickup buddy. If you are a parent pickup buddy, you walk the kindergartners to parent pickup. The purpose of this job is to make sure the kindergartners get to parent pickup and don't get lost, which would be really bad if they did get lost. The next job would be student council. If you are in student council, you help plan all school events like Kindness Week and fundraisers like the food drive and collecting hats, mittens, and toys. Then PCTV. If you are in PCTV, you run the morning announcement show and talk on it. This job exists to tell everyone what is going on and give them a little laugh. The next job would be classroom folders. If you have this job, you take a folder down to the office with all the information about what's going on today. The next one would be school tours. Some kids would show our school to the people that just moved into the school district. The last set of jobs is the classroom jobs. The first classroom job is return library books. If you have this job, take a bin with all the library books that are being turned in on Library Day. The second classroom job would be wipe down tables. If you have this job, you spray the table or desk and wipe them so no one gets sick. The last classroom job is cold lunch bin. If you have this job, you take a bin with all the lunch boxes in it to help out the other kids. That is my presentation on school jobs that the kids do at Poplar Creek.
Thank you. Now we have privilege of the floor. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for you to come and voice your concerns to the board. So please do not be offended when we quietly listen. We may even take notes. We do not immediately respond to your questions and comments. This is a time for you to talk and us to listen. Thank you for coming to voice your comments and concerns. When I call your name, please step up to the microphone, address the chair, and state your name and whether or not you are a resident in this school district. Each presentation is to be restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. Privilege of the floor will be limited to 1/2 hour. Presentations are not to be designed for purposes of engaging others in a debate in this forum. Discussion of certified, classified, or professional personnel or of individual Board of Education members shall not be considered an appropriate topic for this forum, and the speaker will be ruled out of order. First up, I have Charlotte Krupa.
It was a little tall, so I gotta kind of bring it down a little bit. I'll put on my glasses here. Okay, my name is Charlotte Krupa, and I am a resident of the city of New Berlin. And my topic is about parents, and I think about New Berlin as a community and how fortunate we all are to live here. There are many communities that struggle day in and day out. We all could be living in another country or another part of the world where the economic situations are not so good. Our dreams we have for ourselves and our children have an opportunity to grow and to be realized here. In this country, the United States of America, this state of Wisconsin, and in our own city, the city of New Berlin. We are more lucky and more fortunate than many just because we live here. The power of parents is very strong in New Berlin. Parents help to nurture their children in education, in making safe choices, and teaching them lifelong lessons and responsibilities. As a community, we must always understand that parents are the main role in their children's lives. Parents provide encouragement, support, and access to activities. The family is the child's primary social group. The family influences learning and socialization, which helps children in every step of their lives. Parents are entitled to the custody of their children. They are free to make all decisions relating to the welfare of their child as they see fit, short of violating laws that protect children from abuse and neglect. Parents motivate, encourage, and build confidence in their children in the effort to promote good qualities and strength to succeed. Parents also have an important role to make certain that their children are in safe environments, whether that be in their homes or schools. As a community, we should not underestimate the power of our parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Chris Motz.
Good evening. Chris Motes, a resident of New Berlin. And the reason that I'm here this evening is I have a request for the board. And the request is that the board consider adopting a policy to require that sports teams, either the coach or the athletic director, have maybe a 5-minute conference, much like the parent-teacher conferences during the sports season with the parents of the athlete. Reason I bring this up, I learned of an athlete last week who had been a varsity member of a sport for several years. This particular athlete did very well in their sport. As a freshman, they suffered somewhat of a devastating injury their second year. But after many hours of physical therapy, many doctor's appointments, they had a will to get back at that level that they were once at. That athlete was back on the varsity team that they were a part of and did very well throughout the school year or through the season, and actually was named as an all-conference athlete. Now, soon after that naming of the conference team, the sectionals would be the next progression in that sport. And that athlete was left off of the sectionals team. They had no communication given to the parents about why that was. All of a sudden, it was just, you're going to be an alternate. And that was the end of it. Parent reached out, but no response. And so that is the request that I'm having, that coaches be required to at least have a 5-10 minute conference sometime during the athlete's season. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is President's message and announcements. I do not have anything this evening, so we can move on to the administrative team report. We'll have the secondary student representative update, and we have our new representative here with us this evening. Welcome.
Simon, you have a tough follow-up to Dominic, so, you know.
Yeah, that's a tough one to follow up on. Well, hello everyone. My name is Simon Featherston. I'm a junior here at Eisenhower. A couple things I do. I'm on our boys varsity soccer team. I'm also in a couple clubs that we offer here at Eisenhower, like DECA, NHS, Culture Club, and our junior prom committee. There's been a lot of things that have gone on recently at Eisenhower. Just this week, Ike Change of Mind led a very successful Unity Week full of fun days address and candy compliments to unite against bullying and celebrate inclusion, kindness, and positivity. Also, Spanish Honor Society held a delicious salsa competition where students got to try and rate multiple salsas from other students. Also, our NHS and DECA teams have started their Chicker Can event and will pick up cans and other donated items to deliver to the food pantry next weekend. UNICEF is holding a fundraiser this Saturday, October 30th, where volunteers will go around to nearby neighborhoods and request donations, and those donations will go towards supporting children around the world. 3 students, Caden Schmier, John Klein, and Aaron Sheik, recently won the FANUC robot competition and won a FANUC robot to be used for the school. The Pride of New Berlin Band recently participated in the state marching band competition at UW-Whitewater. Also, the boys and girls volleyball seasons have come to an end after 2 exciting matches against Franklin and Pius. The Ike football team shut out Fort Atkinson to advance to the second level of the playoffs, and they will play under the lights this Friday for round 2 of the WIA playoffs at Jefferson High School. Our boys soccer team is regional champions, and they will face against Kettle Moraine Lutheran this Thursday at Eisenhower for a ticket to the sectional finals. Also, our number 1 tennis doubles team, consisting of Maya Samuelson and Ava Meyer, took 7th place in doubles at state. And for the first time since 2008, Ike cross country is state bound. The girls cross country team, who placed 2nd at sectionals, along with Andrew Kubiak, will compete for a state title. Also, freshman Faith Werman once again broke the school record and her own personal record, which allowed her to become the sectional champion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have the superintendent's update.
Yeah, I did want to just provide a brief COVID update, which I would typically do as part of my update to the board. Our numbers are actually, I think as of last Friday, they are at the lowest that they've been since the start of the school year. I know that while we don't necessarily track quarantine numbers, just because we're recommending quarantines, we're not requiring quarantines. Quarantine numbers as of, compared to like last year, for example, we're down probably close to 15, where about a year ago this time we were at about 125 or so. So, again, a lot of the data that we like to follow are the trends that we follow as far as community spread. And when our community spread is lower, certainly the spread in the schools is lower. I'm also not necessarily aware of any transmission of COVID. It's suspected that it was transmitted at school, but it's hard to tell. And I don't want to necessarily get into the details because I don't want to identify any of the students that were involved, but they were part of a team, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. And, when you're with a team, not only are you probably with them during practices, but you're also with them outside of school. So again, we were extremely proud of that fact last year, but again, to date, knock on wood, don't want to jinx ourselves, but we seem to be doing quite well despite the circumstances that we're all dealing with. Again, nothing of substance as far as any changes coming down from the national level, other than there are vaccinations will be available to school-age children that aren't currently. So those that are, I think 14 and under, like between 14 and 5 or 14 and 6. There's a lot, depending on the brand of the vaccine that's out there too. So certainly that could, change things. Again, not sure how that could change. But right now, I believe that 65% of the state of Wisconsin is vaccinated. About 55% of those eligible for vaccination are. So now, when you take in those kids that are, 12 to 8 or 15 to 18, that drops that percentage down. So, but again, not a lot to report other than just a general update to you, which I'm extremely happy with.
On the number of quarantines, is that 10 times we had more quarantines last year than this year at this time?
I wouldn't say, it's close to that.
I think you said 15 to 150 roughly.
100, about 125.
120, okay.
Yeah.
So 8 times. Wow. Thanks.
And then what I do want to, I just want to clarify with the board that there are a lot of things behind the scenes that we work on, and actually our team is here, our teaching and learning team is here to discuss that with you tonight about some of the things that we've seen as a result of our student academic progress and the impact that COVID could have had as a result of the shutdown that we had a couple years ago at the end of the school year, where all school districts were shut down, and then compared to what we were able to do throughout last year. We'll have some of that data for you tonight. We did a presentation back in February, if you recall, I believe, and then now that we have basically all the data from last year, most of it, our team is here to present on that. Obviously, from a financial side, Patrick will be discussing very high level tonight, the ESSER dollars and the budget surplus and again, we're actually going to get more into the budget surplus at another time. But that would be our second year in a row that we've experienced a budget surplus. And then again, receiving these one-time funds will also help the district financially. So again, know that when I present these high-level numbers, there's still an impact on the district. They're just not presented every week other than those high-level numbers that we have. So I don't have any other updates other than, I do want to just congratulate our internal team. Obviously you heard from Drexel building supply rep Matt, but Dave Cody, helped develop the sponsorship guide that was reviewed and looked at by the board before we put it out there. And we start. One of our strategic goals is mutually beneficial partnerships. And sure, again, as was noted earlier, we certainly appreciate that financial support, but it's that business partnership that we certainly value as well, highlighted by our DECA students, our business departments, as well as our construction classes. And then, we're also, Patrick from his team, Andy, and our facilities management team, we will be working closely with Drexel as well on, making sure that they are getting in on any bids for supplies on any work being done, as Drexel is now a local company. But again, that's certainly, we're extremely proud of that. We do believe that that's kind of what makes our world go round as the School District of New Berlin, are these types of partnerships, and that's just another example of the work that we do. So thus ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. On to district reports. We have the incident report, enrollment report, suspension report, and donation report. Mr. Seidel, would you please read the donation report?
So we have 3 donations that looks from the approval date in September. The first one was 10/26/21 from Heather Campow, support of the orchestra program with a donation of a violin, in-kind donation of $500, and the approval date was 9/16/2021. The next one, again, 10/26/21 for Elmwood, Elmwood Home and School, support of a co-curricular staffing in the amount of, or the donor was Elmwood School, in support of a co-curricular staffing in the amount of $6,600, and the approval date on that was 9/18. The final one is for Elmwood. It was, the donor was Elmwood Home and School, support the Gaga Pit in the amount of $4,592, and the approval date was 9/8/2021. Total donations were $11,692.00. And thank you, as always, to all of the generous donors supporting the School District in New Berlin. And that ends my report.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes notice, approve the minutes of October 12th, the financial reports, the district safety plan, and the Woodland Conference 66.0301 agreement. Are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration?
I did want to just clarify that the 6603 agreement is just our annual conference agreement that we share with the board and ask the board to approve as such.
Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Kurth to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. On to our regular agenda. First item on the regular agenda is the assessment data presentation.
I'll have our teaching and learning team come up so they can share what I had touched on earlier.
I'll try that one more time. There you go. Good evening, everybody. And so, like Joe mentioned earlier, we're going to give you an update as we ended the year last year. So we're going to kind of share how we finished. We're going to share our celebrations because we had many. We're also going to share some of our growth points, which we also have many. That's why we're in the school system, is to keep growing and improving. And then we're going to follow up with a couple of strategies to mitigate any of our academic, social, and emotional gaps that we may have spotted through our data analysis. So I'm going to turn it over to Amanda first.
Thank you, though. Hi, Board. Amanda Mazurkowitz, your Director of Student Services. So we're going to start with some information on the number of students in our district who have IEPs, which mean they're in special education. So you have a 3-year look back from 2018 until last year, and it's broken out by percent of total population in the district, and then elementary, secondary, and E3 through E5 means early childhood. So students who are not yet of compulsory education grades, but are receiving those early intervention services because they have a disability. So you see we've stayed about stable over the last couple of years, which is pretty typical in a school district. You don't want to over-identify or under-identify students. We dug in a little bit deeper, and this is where we did see some things that we noticed with the pandemic. So I want to point out the numbers for 2021 actually probably should have been a little bit lower. We were starting to trend down in some of our internal things we were looking at, but when we had to close our physical school buildings, we were unable to evaluate students in person from that March of 2020 through kind of that summer until it was deemed safe for staff to come back in person. You can't really evaluate students virtually. So there was a little bit of a dip in our data there. But one of the things we also noticed is that we have more referrals for students than students who are found eligible, which means there's a gap for us between students who actually come down to needing the service to those who are referring students who think that they might have a disability. And we're really seeing that more at our early childhood level. So in working with our early childhood team, one of the things that we've talked about is trying to increase kind of that community outreach with our local physicians, local providers, daycares, preschools that are feeding into our community and feeding into our system to help them better understand what special education early childhood through age 21 is all about, what it is and what it's not. Because as you see, the bulk of our students who are referred but we're not eligible for services, we're coming from that primary early childhood age. What that also tells us is that as a K-12 system, we have that multi-level system of support where we have behavior and academic interventions, and that also tells us that it's working, meaning that we may be getting a lot of referrals for students at that early childhood age, but that as they're in our system, we're actually able to meet a lot of their needs outside of special education, which is great. We also have that 3-year look back of discipline data for you. So remember that this is total number of infractions, and so it doesn't talk about the total number of students who committed those infractions. So one student could have multiple infractions, and some students obviously none at all. And you can see that overall, that is a point of pride for us that we are trending downward in that direction as well with the number of infractions. As you recall, we have been fortunate to be the recipient of the mental health grant a couple years running, which has allowed us to fund a lot of great projects and even some staffing support for our school district. And recall, we have that partnership with Family Services, which is a third-party mental health provider that provides services to students within the school district during their school day, so that that's easier for some of our families to be able to access that service and that care. But one of the things that our student services team do, so our psychologists, our social workers, and our counselors, they track data for us every quarter on the number of students they're seeing, the number of students who are benefiting from either programs we have within the district or programs that they're being referred to outside of the district, as well as tracking the types of issues that our students are having. And so this data here is just the number of students who were seen by our staff totaled in each quarter. One of the things that Dr. Sanders and I are working on with that team as well is trying to better define some of that data too, so that we can make sure that we're getting the most accurate picture of who our students are. Some of the things that have been going really well for us are that we're able to meet the needs of our students fairly quickly when it comes to our student service support team meetings that we have. We also were able to fund an additional social worker. So now we have an elementary social worker who serves our 4 elementary buildings. We had previously, a couple of years ago, got our secondary social worker, which has been a great benefit. We also have been the recipient of that threat assessment grant that you've heard Dr. Sanders talk about. And that too, between that grant and the mental health grant, we've been able to fund some more of our needs that we have in our district. And then also, one of the benefits of having that advisory period back at the secondary level is that we're able to focus on those social emotional learning needs of our students during that period of time in their day. This is just a reminder for any of those people who are watching at home that on our website, and any of the members in the room too, that we have some social emotional resources on our website for families. We also have a really great Waukesha County resource guide, but it's a huge, huge document. And so our student services team right now is working on kind of cleaning that up, going through, making sure the resources are up to date, making sure that we try to hyperlink some things in there, make it a little more user-friendly for our parents who are now accessing that. And then also, we still have some resources in our reentry handbook for families. We still are hearing from families that the pandemic has impacted their child or impacted their family in a variety of ways, and so we have some resources in there for families who need that. This table for you is just a look at our attendance from and this is the ending of the school year, so ending of 2016 through the ending of last school year. And you can see that we have stayed pretty consistent across the board, which I think is a really great thing, especially coming off of the fact that we did have a strange last school year and the abrupt step to in-person learning in the 1920 school year. Now this slide isn't necessarily talking about last year to this year. It's giving you a frame for what things looked like for us in 1920 and then how they looked different in 2021. So those were the main similarities and differences in terms of some of our practices, what the school day looked like. But if you look at that differences column, a couple of things have actually reverted back to what they were prior to last school year. So for example, we do now have, again, flex sessions. We also have that advisory period built back in that I talked about, that we're able to do some of those social emotional or post-secondary are gearing towards post-secondary learning opportunities, which is really great that we've been able to add that back in. We still have, as you know, 2 learning environments that our students are participating in, be it virtual or in person, and some are doing a hybrid of that as well. And our schedule went back to, instead of those block periods, we went back to the schedule that we've been running for the last, handful of years. That was most consistent in 1920. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Renke.
All right, good evening. Brady Ranke, Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. So today I want to share with you just a little bit of our year-end data from the elementary perspective. Really, I'm gonna just walk you through a little bit about the forward exam, a little bit about our NWA MAP assessment at the end of last year, and then a little bit just about some grade data that went on. Those are 3 of the big things that we look at when we do look at instructional programming. So, sorry, I'm doing both right here. So just a little bit about the forward exam. Students did take the forward exam last year in 2021. The comparative data just got released to us, so we're just now finally able to look at how we stacked up compared to other district school or conference schools, the state, everything like that. So we're going to come back to you with a presentation on that in a little bit. But we're going to talk just briefly about it tonight. And then just keep in mind, though, that many of our virtual students, this was the only time they came into our schools last year was to take the forward exam. The state was unable to do like a virtual forward exam. So a lot of our schools or a lot of our students who had been out of our buildings all year came back for a day to take this assessment. So it may not have been the most ideal situation for testing for them. I do want to just kind of share, though, that overall our scores, when you look at it, did go down slightly. We do, though, know that our percentage of kids that were proficient advanced is still significantly higher than what the state average was. You can see in that table that anywhere from in the different content areas between 15.5% to 24% of our kids, we scored that much higher than the state did. So again, though our scores did go down a little bit, we do still significantly outscore the state average. And we'll see that as we get into our state report card and things like that, which will come out, I think. Data points that we look at frequently